The whole thing was frustrating. I was next to you for this entire thing.
Yeah.
And it was like, if I were the customer, I'd be like, I don't want books anymore.
Yeah.
Like, the whole thing was
I don't want books anymore.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. Highs to approved, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. It gets hard, then it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower,
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower, and W. Dal Bush.
W. Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Del Bush.
Dal.
Del.
W. Dal Bush.
I'll be honest, I don't know why we're doing this. I don't know why we even have a podcast anymore. We are no longer Brian Garside's favorite podcast.
No?
Yeah.
What is?
I don't even want to dignify it.
Oh, okay.
Also, because I don't quite remember its official title, but it's the Atom Bang Freeman Industry Podcast.
Neat.
Is it?
I don't care.
Brian said that we're still the first podcast he listens to each week, and I said, yeah, that's because ours goes up before Adam's goes.
He's just getting it out of the way now.
That's all. Yeah. Yeah, he still listens, but I guess out of, like, hatred.
I can understand that.
Although, to be fair, he did say how much he loves dark mode on the website.
Ooh.
As did several other
feedback.
people. Yeah, other people said, like, the general consensus is,
nice.
If anybody said anything about dark mode, they said they loved it.
Okay,
Nobody
cool.
said change it. Nobody said we like light mode.
Great. Okay. I will keep that in mind when we potentially look at refreshing the website visually a little bit.
So,
I have no idea when.
I don't know.
I'm sure sometime this year, but probably like not real soon.
But when you say those things,
I've said this a million times. It's only because when I say stuff like that, I have an idea, I just don't want to do it yet, and then I end up just being like, I'll just do it now.
But now you don't have.
I don't have an idea,
okay.
So it's something where like I'll probably try and sit down,
put it out of your head
in like September, October, probably. I don't want to. Again, I don't have anything right now, and I don't really want to work on it right now. But if I do want to refresh it a little bit by the end of the year, and I want to do that before November, December, when more people will probably be on the website for whatever reason.
And to be fair, Brian never said he hated the podcast, but he did say that
he has a new love. I get it.
We need to step it up.
Oh, I won't be doing that.
And I thought that doing a podcast at all last week, especially one on my birthday, was stepping it up.
Yeah, under duress. I mean, as much duress as you could possibly have without it being
while still actually doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was out eating steak, and I rushed home to get a podcast done.
How nice.
So I guess that's not stepping it up. I'm sorry, Brian.
Yeah. Yeah.
He may actually genuinely be hurt that we're doing this.
Maybe.
Oh, I was expecting you to say, oh, now it's we, is it?
I mean, I don't want him to be hurt. I don't care.
Wow.
I don't care.
You know who else doesn't care?
What's that?
Publishers of comic books. Specifically,
feels that way.
Anybody who uses Penguin Random House. And here's why. Here's why. So earlier, while I was doing all of my thorough research for this podcast episode, because I'm stepping it up, and actually I had an idea of doing like a full episode of topic headers with sound effects. But just like to overdo it, I'm like, it's way too much work for a gag.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. It's way too much work for me for a gag.
Also fair.
So anyway, I was doing the invoicing, invoice breakdowns for July 3rd.
Holiday week.
This is just PRH because Lunar has a habit now of not getting their invoices up, their shipment information ready until end of day on Thursdays.
Okay.
It used to be like right at the start of the afternoon, so it made it easier to do.
I see.
So if a particular, like an average week of product from PRH, and I'm going to put this on I'm going to use a number scale
Mhm.
to not be exactly specific. But if I were to say that on a chart,
Uh-huh.
an average week of releases for us from PRH is like a high 600, with it going up as far as high 800, which is like a big week.
Okay.
But let's say
I
like,
would have just done on like a 10-point scale.
sure,
An average is 5.
yeah, I could do that, but I've already started my way.
Okay, got it.
Twice in the last week, I've told somebody, 2 different people, how I calculate tips real fast in my head.
Uh-huh.
And here's basically what it is. Let's say your bill at a restaurant is $47.62.
Okay.
So I'll either round it up to 48 or just round it up to 50. If it's close to 50, round it to 50, right?
Sure.
Then, since it's 50, you take a decimal point right in the middle of the number. So it's, instead of 50, it's 5.
Yeah.
Then you double that.
Yep.
So it's 10.
Yep.
That's the tip.
Yeah, I think that's probably how everybody does it.
That's how almost no one does it.
Wow.
And
I mean, as you were telling me that, I'm like, $47. Okay. $4.70 is 10%. Double that. It's
Yeah.
like 9 something. So round it up to 10 or round it down to 9 if you really hated the service.
I was told that
That's it.
me
It's that
explaining
simple.
it was way more confusing than just trying to figure it out for
No,
yourself.
I think
Yeah.
your way is the most intuitive way I can think of to do that. And I almost don't want to hear another way to do it because it's going to make me have less faith in you.
Oh, I don't have any other
No,
ways.
I mean from other
Yeah.
people. I
Yeah.
don't want anyone listening to this episode to be like, let me give you my mental calculus. Like, no, don't.
Well, my other way of doing it is to get out my calculator
Yeah, I don't think that's
because there's one on a phone. Anyway,
assuming you do like an average of a 20% tip. I mean, and again, just doing it at, again, move the decimal point, double it, and then that gives you the kind of baseline of like, do I want to go up higher than that because I thought the service was exemplary? Or do I want to go lower than that within a normal range because I thought the service was disappointing or aggravating?
I stopped at a bakery in Andersonville on Tuesday,
Mhm.
and I just picked up 2 ready-made wrapped things, a cookie and a slice of zucchini cake.
Mhm.
And so I'm checking out, and I acknowledge that they are a restaurant
Yeah.
with a restaurant-like point of sale system,
Sure.
but there's always a tip option before you get to the total.
Mhm.
And I thought, I don't want to tip you because all you're doing is ringing me up.
Right.
I got the things, I brought
Yeah, it
them
was
up.
self-serve. Yeah.
But yeah, I feel bad that there's a tip option. I'm like, we could put a tip option on ours. We just choose not to.
We absolutely could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not gonna.
No. Yeah, I was at a baseball game today, guaranteed rate field, to watch the White Sox lose because it was a day of the week, and it's all cashless. So when you're checking out, there's always a little tip option, and I always tip. I tip all those employees because I think I'm sure they deserve it. I'm sure they work really hard.
Would you
I'm
have
sure
tipped
they
at the
do a lot.
bakery?
I was going to say the places I don't really like tipping are when essentially nothing has been done.
Right.
Like, again, just being checked out at the register is kind of not a lot. Like at the ballpark, they're prepping the food, they're getting everything ready, whatever. This is just somebody who happened to be there when you were ready to leave and give money. Like,
I did, but I picked the lowest option possible.
There have been places where I've gone in to pick up orders, I think, at places, and they'll have like a tipping option, and it's like, no, I'm just picking up. Like, I don't want to tip for like.
But somebody had to prepare that food and get it ready for you.
But that gets into my mental space of like, okay, but isn't that what I'm paying for in the first place? Like, I don't know. It's nowadays, I think there's a lot less division between when you should tip and when you should not tip, and everything becomes a lot more like, it depends on how you feel. Like, sometimes I tip not to feel like an asshole. Sometimes I don't tip because I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. There is no breakdown for me where I can say like these specific instances, yes and no. It's all very
To get
fluid.
even further off topic, a group of Friday regulars and I were at the Bucktown pub last Friday after work, having some adult beverages, and we'd ordered pizza from Peace.
Mhm.
And you pay and you tip in advance. It's all done.
Right.
And I got a call from the guy. He's like, "Hey, I'm outside the beer garden," which you got to go around through the front of the bar anyway.
Mhm.
But I went out to get the pizzas, and he's like, "I get you some plates and stuff too. I'm like, oh, great, thanks. And I think he wanted a tip for that.
Oh, okay.
And he gave us a stack of plates and a stack of napkins and a whole extra bag full of packets of red pepper and Parmesan.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm like, I already tipped.
Yeah.
It's already done.
Yeah. I hope the restaurant's giving some of that to you. I don't know,
do
man.
you think that giving takeout people cutlery, plates, but not always, and napkins is offset by dishwashing money? What I mean with that is, if you get takeout and it's the same cost as the meal in the restaurant,
right?
They're still giving you extra things they don't give you in the restaurant.
I see what you're saying.
Because you're just using the ones in the restaurant, but those things then have to be cleaned by someone who is on staff.
Yeah, I guess I don't think about it as being. I think it's a neutral concept.
Yeah.
I don't think it moves the needle for me one way or the other because it's just a component of the process.
Okay, but anyway, you said you were buying stuff at the stadium.
Oh no, I mean it was just because I do tip there.
Yeah,
like that's a situation where I'll gladly tip, and I think they deserve it. Even though part of me always wants to say, before I tip, are you getting this money? Like I always have a fear. Like it's one thing when you tip in cash at a restaurant, like the server's collecting that, so you have a feeling of like, okay, this is going to be split with the different like wait staff and stuff.
Right.
It's going to get pulled. Everyone who is involved theoretically should be getting their money unless you are in a very, very bad restaurant where the owner is taking that money. And that's horrible. And I hope people can get out of that situation if they're stuck working at places like that. But when I'm doing it digitally, I always have this fear of like, I don't know if this money is making its way all the way down the chain to the people who actually earned it. Like,
sure. I
hope it is, but I have no way of knowing that. And I would never not tip because I was afraid they weren't getting it because that's self-fulfilling then. But I kind of always want to ask, like, you're getting this money, right? I'm not just tipping, like, guaranteed rate field, am I? Like, I'm tipping the company that is employing you, and they will give you that tip money because they're obligated to do so under law, right? Right?
Yeah, and that brings up the point that were we actually to accept tips, we would have to break it down to whoever works that day.
I mean, you're dividing it in half, I think, in general. Like, I don't think it's a big deal.
Not in a third? Don't you get automatically because it's your store?
No, I'm saying that the tip money goes to who's ever working that day.
Okay. I mean, I wouldn't have given you any anyway.
Thank you.
I just remembered our old boss that anything that was given in the store was automatically there.
Oh, no. Like, for example, if you're working with Gina on a Friday and there's tip money, it would just get split between you and Gina. I wouldn't get any of that. I wasn't working that day.
Well, I mean, let's face it. If we break it down by exponentially who actually, or I guess proportionally, who actually did the work and deserves it, it'd be 80-20 in her favor.
Sure. That is up to you. I don't work those days.
Clearly, I don't either. I'm just there.
No, you work 20% of it.
That says I'm locking the door.
And locking it. Oh, wait, did she do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not every time. It's whoever asks to first.
I see.
It's a joy. It's a privilege. We worked for the whole day was to lock that door. Okay, so using a 10-point scale.
Yes.
If
an average week is 5.
No, you're not doing this.
Okay.
If the biggest week on record you could ever possibly have is a 10.
Yep.
And if a normal week is a 6.5.
Okay.
But if an 8 or an 8.5 is not unheard of.
Okay.
Any guesses what July 3rd is?
Like a 4?
3.5.
Yeah. It's a holiday week.
Yep.
Which is sort of a problem. And 2, I believe it's a 5-week month.
It's the summer. Every week is a holiday week. This week was a holiday week.
Yeah, there's always something. But I mean, I think the big summer holidays, the ones that really affect things, Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July, those are the 3.
But not in that order.
Yeah, honestly, not even Memorial.
I'm sorry, what did you say holiday was?
I was saying that Memorial Day I considered a summer holiday, but technically it is a spring holiday.
Okay.
Ergo, it should not count. Yeah, it's unfortunate how many weeks lately we've had to look at a limited number of releases from major publishers and go, well, here's the justification. It's like, it seems like it's happening all the time and not even on the weeks you think it would.
So you've noticed that Marvel has kind of stealth-ended some series and are doing it to some more.
A bunch of stuff. So Blade ended at 10 right before Blood Hunt started, which sort of made sense.
Yeah, which we think it had to.
Yeah, I mean, considering how Blood Hunt works as a story, there's almost no way you could do Blade issues of that unless you did them completely without Blade and with his supporting cast instead. I mean, they're doing a Blade Blood Hunt miniseries, so it's not like that couldn't have been done, but it just feels like the sales were bad, and they were like, well, let's do a new number 1 because that's going to sell a little bit better probably than issue 11. But Black Panther's over.
Wait, are you saying there's an upcoming Blood Hunt series just starring Blade? Or you mean Blade is that series?
No, I think
Blood Hunt is that series.
Didn't they do a Blade Blood Hunt thing? I thought they did.
It wasn't him. It was his...
Yeah, that's what I mean. That goes Bloodline. No, she's in Dracula.
Yeah.
So whatever.
Oh. Yeah, I guess I don't remember they did, which is weird because as the, spoiler, protagonist for antagonist...
Yeah.
For...
The spoiler is antagonist.
Blood Hunt. You don't really get his point of view a lot.
Well, and I think that's on purpose. I mean, obviously, I think people figured out pretty quickly in issue 2, if not then by issue 3, that this is not the Blade that we've known for a long time. What? So how?
Oh, did you say spoiler?
Who it really is, I don't think we don't know yet. And if anyone has guesses, I haven't heard a good one.
Well, my guess was Baron Blood, but
yeah,
Avengers wrecked that for me.
Yeah, he's just in that book. It's not Dracula. Dracula's in the book too.
Did you see the Strange Tales figures for Marvel?
Yeah, I got a notification today that they went up.
Yeah.
Do you get any of them? Brother Voodoo?
Moon Knight for sure, because it's the Chris Warner Egyptian Moon Knight.
Yeah. Yeah, with the gold belt and stuff. Yeah.
So the breakdown is 2 Helverines per case. I'm sorry. Marvel's
Weapon of Vengeance.
Uh-huh. And then
Which is a good name if you can't say Helverine on a package.
He's not the Build-A-Figure.
Yeah, the Build-A-Figure is Blackheart for the
So then there's 1 each of Brother Voodoo, Dracula, Lilith, Storm.
Bloodstorm.
Storm is a vampire. Bloodstorm. Damien Hellstorm. Hellstorm.
Yeah. Damon Hellstrom.
And Moon Knight. So... because of that's the case breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
So, seeing how poorly Marvel Legends sell for us lately,
maybe they'll sell better now they have the plastic packaging again.
I don't know. The boxes all look square as well, not like they're angled boxes. Mm-hmm. So, I'm ordering 1 case for the store.
Okay.
And then handfuls of
Helverines.
A few extra Helverines,
mm-hmm.
Bloodstorms.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say 1 extra Brother Voodoo and 2 extra Moon Knights.
Okay.
The only problem, though, and this is a thing that I figured we'd talk about elsewhere, but we'll talk about it now since we're bringing it up.
Okie dokie.
The figures are cheaper when you buy them per case
always
than when you buy them singly.
Yepper.
But I don't want extra Liliths
and
for the shelf or Demon Hellstorm or Draculas.
The only ones I feel like are going to be bum figures that we would get stuck with would be Lilith for sure. I don't know if people are going to want a lot of Bloodstorms.
Really? Because she's the one I ordered the most of.
Okay.
Because it's classic Mohawk Storm.
But she's a vampire.
Well, she's a vampire. But I don't know that you see her fangs. Well, look, everything's in the cart. I didn't place it.
Yeah, Dracula, I don't think a lot of people are going to care about.
Because it's Dracula in the current armor.
Yeah, I definitely don't think anyone's going to care about Lilith.
Yeah.
The rest of them, I feel like there could be interest in Hellstorm.
Hellstorm, if he was in his superhero outfit, yes. This is just him
on the chest.
This is just him in pants.
And I think people are going to want, I think Brother Voodoo is going to have some people wanting it, because he's such an obscure 70s character, and I think people flock to that.
But it's not the obscure 70s version.
And
it's a modern version.
Yeah, and it's also, it's not like a Cable figure, where everyone wants the Cable figure from the last wave of X-Men figures. Brother Voodoo is a little bit more obscure than the Cable. A little bit. Yeah, I would rather go low on this and sell out and have people ask for it than get stuck with them for 3 to 4 years.
Sure, but the moral of my story was that because we're doing a lot of them as single orders, we're going to have to raise the price.
Okay. So be it.
Okay, so getting back to the Stealth Ending series, you talked about Blade. and
Black Panther,
which
so Blade,
neither of us had realized ended.
Blade, I knew because it was just like, oh, it's not coming out anymore because of Blood Hunt. That makes sense. But Black Panther was one I was like, oh, Black Panther's done a 10. That's real fast.
Yeah, and it was selling better than the last couple Black Panther
seemed like it was
series.
selling fine, but so that's done. Captain Marvel, I believe, is done at 10.
Yeah.
There's other stuff that I feel like was on the bubble, but She-Hulk was the one that I was reading issue 9 this past week, and it ended with "to be concluded," and I went, "Oh, She-Hulk done."
And then
She-Hulk
Rainbow
done 10.
Rural confirmed that on Twitter
Because I think everyone realized that. Also because they hadn't solicited an issue past 10, and 10 shifted back a month, so it didn't feel like a certainty that it was canceled. But like, if you're not in the catalog, like, we're done here.
Yeah.
And I mean, God bless him. Like, that book ran for a number of years, and it's so good right now. Once she got her Runaways artist back,
Yeah.
it's so good. It's so fun every month. It's such a great book. And I think we had complained about previously on the podcast, because people occasionally will ask us like, "How's She-Hulk doing?" And it's like, well, it does great for us, but that's probably not the case across the whole industry. Like, we would sort of not see sales figures, but you get a sense of it across the industry, and it's like, oh, that's probably a top 10 Marvel book for us. And it sucks to lose that because a bunch of stores weren't carrying it, couldn't sell it, didn't have customers that cared. Like, I don't know what the reason is, but
Up until the Tom King Wonder Woman relaunch, She-Hulk was our highest selling female-led superhero book.
yeah.
Or a single issue comic entirely.
Yeah.
Like, not categorizing as superheroes, just any.
Yeah. So it's a shame to lose that, and again, to lose something that is selling so well for us to be replaced by basically nothing. It's not like it's becoming a different book. And honestly, even if it got relaunched, it's like, I don't know if it's going to sell as well. The Rainbow Rowell version was really good, and people really responded to it.
Yeah.
And she brought in a lot of her fiction fans. I don't know if giving that book to like a writer with less credentials to them is going to be a bigger success. It's probably going to be a much smaller success.
Well, before we talk more about ending Marvel books like Iron Man, I'm going to segue into...
Iron Man's ending at 20, I think.
Yeah.
20. All the Star Wars books are ending at 50.
Are they really?
Yeah. So the announcement was made because with the current catalog, both Star Wars and Darth Vader are the only two ongoing Star Wars books, and they're both ending at 50. There will be
What about Bounty Hunters, Dal?
already done.
I know.
Dr. Effer already done.
Yep.
There's a bunch of miniseries. There's a one-shot based on a supporting cast character from The Acolyte.
I cannot wait until we get High Republic Phase 4. I'm already sick of Phase 3.
But Marvel said that they will be doing new Star Wars books in a new Star Wars era later in the year. No announcement as to what that era is, but I would assume it would be stuff that is either like... They can't do High Republic because they've already been doing High Republic books, so doing a new High Republic ongoing series would not matter.
In as brief of an answer as you can give me, this current Star Wars and Darth Vader on this two-part question.
Yes.
1, are they simultaneous continuity like they used to be? 2, what? Where?
Between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
My hope would be, and the thing that I think would get a lot of people paying attention again, is if they were able to do...
Phantom Menace?
Just panel for panel Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
No, if they could do a post-Return of the Jedi comic. I think that's what everyone has wanted for the longest time.
Excuse me. That's the pattern that they're headed towards.
You would think. But Lucas Films in comics has strenuously strayed away from that stuff beyond a couple miniseries that were done around the release of the sequel trilogy, but they really didn't touch on a whole lot, and I don't know if... I assume that stuff is canonical. Everything they release now is canonical, which is what's kind of handcuffing them, I think, a bit, because even the TV shows and stuff that have focused on the post-Return of the Jedi stuff, like Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, they've really stayed away from like main character stuff. They've stayed away from Han Solo and Princess Leia, and Luke shows up a little bit, but there's a gap there of like 7-8 years where they're not telling you what's going on beyond a general trajectory of where he is when we get there in Force Awakens and the other films. So if they were to do that, if they could get that okay, that would be great. Those would sell really, really well and get a lot of lapsed fans to come back. But if they just end up doing like, I don't know, Old Republic stuff, no one's going to care.
No.
It's DOA. You'll have the same 8 people that are buying Darth Vader right now from us buying the new one.
And any
Great.
Star Wars book, really.
Yeah, we have not carried Star Wars for the shelf, the actual main Star Wars title, in like at least 6 months, because we were carrying it for several months and selling 0 off the shelf before I was just like, forget it, who cares?
Well, I was going to segue into discussing what are called, not formally, hangout comics.
Okay.
And how there's especially with the cancellation of the ending of She-Hulk, there's less of them. And a hangout comic is basically a comic that's not so much about superhero exploits as it is about the person's life, their relationship.
Sure.
And
less about plot, more about character.
Yeah. And previously those books would have been like Sex Criminals or Giant Days.
Yeah.
You know, those kind of books where you're Squirrel Girl.
Yeah. Okay.
So
fun comics.
Yeah.
Comics that are fun to read.
So
Gwenpool.
with the lack of ongoing series, you don't really get the time to have a book about just relationships.
Right.
So
you get a bunch of like high concept short run miniseries that tie into some gang war or whatever, and it's like that's not what people want.
I watched the trailer for the new Apple Plus TV series with Natalie Portman, Lady in the Lake.
I had not heard of this.
And I immediately, just the way it's filmed and the way it's...
What's the genre?
I don't know that I can explain it. It feels like 1960s bored housewife who never did anything with her life, who I guess always wanted to write but never wrote and never told anybody. And like she gets in a fight with her husband. She's like, have you noticed I've never done anything? And he's like, yeah, you never wanted to. Mm. So she finds
relationship drama. Got it.
She finds a dead woman in the lake and builds the story around it.
Okay.
But it becomes like, well, how did she know where that woman was and what is this about? And it's also the woman who's dead is telling you about it.
Okay.
And how she didn't want her life to be this. She doesn't want to be this symbol or this, whatever it becomes.
Sure.
But it's done in such a weird, like, is it a murder mystery? Is it like a alternate reality thing? Is it like, what is this? And I thought, that's like everything today. But anyway, like so with so few ongoing series, and so, I mean, I would consider Saga like that, like a hangout comic, just because it's so long running,
I suppose,
and because it goes in and out, you like check into it to see how your friends are doing, kind of thing.
Sure.
But otherwise, aside from like Knights, Knights is a hangout book.
Sure. I think you could also just call these vibes books if you wanted to make it a more modern version.
Well, vibe books. Is there anything else?
Like
it's like comfort comics.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
While you're thinking, I'll tell the
Fantastic
story.
Four, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? Yeah. The new run. Sure. I'll give you that.
They're all really good short stories and stuff, but it never feels like there's no real peril. You know, there's no goal. It's just
not getting eaten by vampires.
They go on a little adventure. They have a little cute story, and that's it. And it's great.
And
Every
also,
issue is great.
It can have this ongoing controversy about Johnny's mustache.
It's terrible. I love that it's terrible.
Right, same.
Oh my God.
I hate it, and I love that it's
so
perfect that he has that. That
everybody hates it, and he's
that
like
Hulk Hogan mustache.
And he's like, no, it's great.
Yeah,
because that's who Johnny is. The issue 25 that's in the new catalog is it's obviously 25. Usually is a celebrated issue for Marvel Comics when they roll around to those
numbers.
Yeah, those
anniversaries.
Multiples. So it's an oversized issue, and currently, looking at the credits, it's an oversized issue just by Ryan North and Carlos Gomez, which makes me incredibly happy.
Yeah, those are your favorites.
I love them. I think they're great together. It's a little frustrating that they didn't get their best artist until like around issue 20 or something. But it's real good right now. I hope that book gets a bit more room to work, but I feel like it's probably got 6 to 10 more issues before they reboot it.
So when I was visiting family out of town a few weekends ago, I'd given my aunt, who's an avid mystery reader, as am I, a book called Silence of the Jams. And it's what she calls a cozy mystery. A little small town, quiet murder mystery.
Yeah, Murder, She Wrote stuff.
And she was texting me this morning. She's like, I just finished trying to figure out why you gave this to me. Is it because some side character I've forgotten about had a nephew who was a graphic designer? She's like, did you think I wouldn't notice that part? Or, and then she's like, I had the right killer, but the wrong motivation. I too, when reading it, had the right killer, but the wrong motivation. Mm-hmm. And both her and I had completely different motivations.
Different wrong motivations.
Yeah. But the reason I gave it to her was because it was an overship from one of our distributors. I don't remember who it was.
Penguin Random House.
Probably. And they don't ever want that stuff back, but they just donate it.
Yeah, it's not worth it for them to send a call tag or take it back or whatever.
Oh, her first thing was, is this a friend of yours? Is that why you have this? Because I've given her Dog Sitter Detective from Anthony Johnson before.
Okay.
Who is a friend of the store.
Sure.
And those are cozy mysteries, but they're good.
Sure. As opposed to Silence of the Jams, which apparently is not good.
I mean, I blew through it because
it's not a big book.
No.
I unpacked it and I'm like, what is this? And I set it aside because you read mysteries and I'm like, I don't know what the heck you want this. But it's like a paperback book that has, it's got like less than 200 pages to it.
Anyway, it was less than 300.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
This is a very prolific author who has an entire series of like crochet mysteries.
Yeah, I mean, this was like book 2 of this different franchise.
Yeah, it's the Diner Mystery series, whatever it was actually called. But I mean, I didn't regret reading it, but I didn't actively like it. But I liked that my aunt thought I was punishing her by giving it to her.
At least it was a short punishment.
Yeah, but the whole point of that was the majority of reading that book, it was never about the crime. It was about the life of the woman who owns the diner and her personal relationships and her interactions in the community.
Yeah, I mean, literally just looking at the front and back cover, I'm like, oh, it's like Gilmore Girls, but they solve a mystery.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm like, great. I'm sure that's got a ton of people who are like, sign me up! But I hope you heard everything Patrick just said and know that it's not going to be as good as you think it is.
Well, you can't borrow it because I gave it to my aunt, and I think she's probably burned it by now.
Also, we don't stock Silence of the Jams, but I guess we can reorder it if you do want a copy.
Definitely.
We can get one for you.
So after Fantastic Four, any other suggestions for
it's tough to say.
books?
I really have to look at the shelves. I can barely remember anything I'm like taking home and reading outside of looking through a stack of comics. I'm seriously scanning my bookshelves right this second to be like, what do I? But I don't have a lot of research.
But I mean, to really to have it be the kind of a book that focuses
it's Jeff, I guess. I don't know. Like, does that count?
No, because it's not a regular book.
It's not. I mean, we have issues. You can buy 2 of them on the shelf.
Yeah, but you don't check in with it monthly, you know?
I wish I could.
I know.
I've said it before, but Infinity Paws, which is the Jason Liu, now Fuji Marvel Limited comic, will inevitably have a print edition, and we'll stock a ton of it. I thought it was really fantastic. It's a lot lighter in tone even than something like It's Jeff, but the art's great and the story's cute.
So speaking of Saga, just before, they've announced that they're doing new collections in the new format, the 6x9.
Yeah.
The not quite digest format, but
the young adult format. That's
the airport bookstore format.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same as DC's recently released Compact Comics format. It's the same format as all of the teen superhero graphic novels that Marvel's been releasing. It's the same format as all of DC's YA graphic novels. Same format as most of like first, second stuff, that kind of thing. Bigger than a manga, smaller than a graphic novel.
And I'm okay with books having multiple formats, but it feels like the majority of the books that are doing it already have a handful of formats. Because for Saga, you have single issues, 6-issue trades, 12-issue hardcovers.
Yeah, so
24-issue or 24-issue oversized something or others, and then the compendiums are 64 issues? No, that's not that many.
For Saga, the compendiums are 48, the hardcovers are 18, the softcovers are 6.
Yeah. So now we're having another format for Saga, and how many are we supposed to stock?
Well, so this isn't even the first one because the the first Image series to move to a 6x9 format was Invincible.
Which we chose not to carry.
We did indeed.
And now I'm starting to think maybe we should have.
Well, I would maybe do those in place of the graphic novels, but the problem with doing that sort of switchover is that it's not like they took 25 volumes of Invincible and went, okay, here's the corresponding 6x9 volumes. They're slowly rolling them out over a multi-year period.
Yeah.
So it's like you could start doing that, but you still have to stock the later ones because it's not like people are going to finish one of those every 2 months. They finish them like one a week.
But I mean, that's what we're doing with the 6-gun. But those are finished now.
So 6-gun's finished. 6-gun doesn't sell as fast.
And they did them monthly to make it
Yeah,
easier.
they did all 3 volumes in 3 months, so it was great. So by the time people were like, oh, I read 1, it's like, great, 2's out. And by the time they finish 2, it's like, great, 3's out. And by the time they finish 3, it's like,
here's Shadow Roads.
Yeah, we're done. This is great. The one thing I wanted to check, so Saga 6x9 Volume 1, let me see if I can figure out, I'm trying to figure out what it collects. If it's just the same as the regular Volume 1. I'm trying to find literally anything in here that says what issues it collects. I guess it's just trim size editions.
Does it have the price point?
I'm looking for that too. Do I have to find a completely different email? This is one they sent out, and it doesn't say...
There was a press release from a day or so ago.
It tells you the ISBN, the lunar code, what days it comes out. I don't see a single thing in here that says how much this goddamn thing costs.
Yeah, that's another press release I was reading a day or so ago, and I
What
can't
the
remember
hell?
the book it was. It never mentioned the price anywhere.
Because I don't want to
read
have
the
to...
whole thing.
I don't have to log into my goddamn retailer account, but I guess I have to.
Well,
Thank you.
Isn't even in the catalogs yet?
I'm going to look.
I mean, it's definitely in the PDF for Lunar, for their image catalog and their other catalog.
I cannot tell you how angry I am right this second at this. Like, the fact that you send out an email with ISBNs in it, but then be like, what does it have in it? I don't know. Figure it out.
Well,
thanks.
While you were looking it up, I'm going to tell a corresponding story. Somebody came in
for
yesterday
the rest of this podcast
looking for Batman Night Quest. So Batman Nightfall, the Bane breaks Batman's back story that ran through all the Batman books back in that time period.
Mm-hmm.
It was originally collected as 3 individual collections. The graphic novels, part 1, part 2, part 3.
Right.
To get all the stories from, Batman, a detective, whatever, it crossed over.
Sure.
But then they recently put out like a companion of all 3 in 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was Night Quest, which followed up on that storyline, and they had 2 volumes of that.
Right, because Night Quest, unlike Nightfall, was not an 18-part story. Night Quest was 2 different storylines that were happening in
like
different
Legends
books.
of the Dark Knight.
Like, basically, like, one was, what's Azrael doing as the new Batman? And the other was, what's Bruce Wayne doing now that his back is broken? So those are 2 completely different threads in different books.
But what makes things even more confusing is that one of the individual collections of Nightfall was called Night Quest.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Nightfall, Night Quest. So now you have Night Quest as its own separate book.
Yeah.
Two different, like one was Night Quest the Crusade, the other one was Batman the Crusade Night Quest.
Mm-hmm.
So both using
Perfect.
Crusade.
Perfect.
So they put that all together in one book as well, and they called it Nightfall Night Quest.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like another Nightfall book, right?
Right.
So somebody came in to order it, and on the Lunar website where you get your DC restock from,
mm-hmm.
in the solicitation for that book, it doesn't say what it collects. The Nightfall trade, the regular Nightfall trade of the 3 other volumes, tells you every issue that's in it.
Right.
Now, this person is on Amazon, showing me the listing on Amazon. And the Amazon listing and the Lunar listings have completely different covers. They're the same price point, and the descriptions are the same as far as the content of the story, the paragraph. But the Lunar one doesn't show what it collects. And I'm assuming it's the right one. So I'm like, yeah, I think we can order that one. But it was very frustrating that it didn't have the books collected in it.
Sure.
And that it's the wrong cover. And also, it's out of stock. So this person who's going out of their way to get it from us, even though they could have ordered from Amazon, can't get it from us.
Right.
Are you looking it up?
No, so I was thinking I was getting more information for the Saga thing.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
No, I mean I don't know if you were still talking.
Yeah, I was just
the whole thing was frustrating. I was next to you for this entire thing.
Yeah.
And it was like, if I were the customer, I'd be like, I don't want books anymore.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing was.
I don't want books anymore.
This is the thing, and this isn't going back to the Saga thing yet, but we will in a moment. When I'm shelving graphic novels, which is fairly frequently, and I'm shelving them in the superhero section, I have this kind of weird feeling. That's two feelings. One is being so mad at Marvel Comics for making their graphic novels virtually impossible to figure out what things are. So when I'm putting like the third different Fantastic Four volume #1 in a section, or I'm rearranging all of the different Miles Morales graphic novels because they all look identical, even though there's like 4 different writers in 2 different like universes. I get so mad, and I think you are making it impossible for any new fans to get into this stuff without having their hands held by a store. And then I have this feeling of like, oh, thank you so much, because you're giving people a reason to come to comic shops because they cannot figure this stuff out on their own. Because there's no way to. Like, if you were, God forbid, you were like, oh, I heard Miles Morales is a fun character to read about. Trying to buy print graphic novels, you would constantly be buying the wrong books.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't know that, like, oh, Cody Ziegler writes these.
Oh, this one says volume 1.
But Saladin Ahmed writes these, and Brian Bendis wrote these. But you want to read the Saladin Ahmed ones before you read the Cody Ziegler ones, even though this is Saladin Ahmed Volume 2 and this is Cody Ziegler Volume 1. You want to read the Saladin Ahmed Volume 2 before you read, and it's just like, this is ridiculous. It's insane. But anyway, so going back to the Saga thing, so I was looking it up. So, Saga Volume 1 6x9 edition, $10.
Okay.
Collects the first 6 issues. Saga Volume 1 full size, $10, collects the first 6 issues. I'm looking at the Invincible collections, because they started doing the Invincible 6x9s.
Yeah.
Invincible, I just picked Volume 3. Invincible Volume 3, 6x9 edition.
Yeah.
Collects issues 14 and 19 and the Image Summer Special for $15. Image Volume 3 full size, they don't list what it collects, but I'm pretty sure it's like 6 issues. So same amount of material, $10. It is more expensive to get the new edition 6x9 one than it is to get the regular full-size one. And that right there is why we don't carry the Image 6x9 ones, but we do carry Invincible. The new DC Compact Comics ones. Because the DC Compact Comic ones make sense to me as a retailer, because you're giving people an incentive to get it in a smaller size because you're offering it for less. I understand the argument that a lot of retailers are going to have, where it's like, why would I want to sell Watchmen for way less than I'm currently selling it for? Money. But I think it's a different audience, and I think there's an amount of people who are like, oh, this is point of purchase for me. Like, this is, I'll throw this on. So it's not that they would have spent $30 on Watchmen, but now they're going to get it for $10 or $15 instead, and they're going to pocket the difference. It's people who are not going to buy those that will now get it at the lower price, because you've moved the price into the range where they feel comfortable splurging on it.
It's just a weird dichotomy in my head of us. We would rack them in the same exact spot.
Well, so I ordered a bunch more because we sold out of the Court of Owls and Watchmen that came out.
In the first, like, right away.
Right, so I ordered a bunch more for the front table, because I think that's where I'd rather put them for the time being.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point of them, is like, oh, what is this? Oh, I'm not, like, it's perfect for people who are essentially buying them in airports. I mean, that's the whole point of the format, is that it's to get them in places where you can't rack a full-size graphic novel, and you certainly can't sell a full-size graphic novel for $30.
And it's more compact, it fits in your suitcase better, and you don't feel as bad because you're spending considerably less money. And it's the kind of thing, like a Silence of the Gems, you can read and just leave on the plane or give away or whatever, and not feel bad.
And it's not for the person who's like, I need a good copy of Watchmen because I am a comics fan and I need to see it in the format it was originally presented in, the size it was originally presented in. People who are going to buy the compact comics, they don't care that it's smaller. They don't care if it's reduced down, because they're just going to read it and be done with it. That's it. If they love it, you can upgrade. There's a whole bunch of upgrades. There's Absolute Watchmen if you want the absolute best version.
There it is.
But with the
still in shrink wrap
Image 6x9 stuff, it doesn't make any sense to me, because there's no savings to it. So it's like, you might as well just get the regular one. I don't understand. Like, I'm not seeing a situation, and maybe Images and they've got data to prove it. But I'm not seeing a situation where people are like, I would normally buy this graphic novel, but I wish it were a little smaller and harder to read. Like, if that's a thing, sure, great. I don't think that our store is the market for that. So we're not really going to be carrying those, either the Saga ones or the Invincible ones, for the foreseeable future.
Except for that case I ordered.
Even Marvel got it in the right way, where they were doing like the Ms. Marvel YA format.
You get two volumes of the full-size trade paperbacks for like $15.
Yeah, which would normally be like $32 if you were buying them in the full-size format. So it's like, this makes perfect sense.
And we still stock them both.
Yeah, we have them in different sections. But yeah, like that makes sense. All of those things are details where I'm like, I can understand how this would work and I see how this would appeal to people. But then you have the Image Skybound way of doing it where I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand how this is an improvement. It feels like you are literally paying the same amount and getting less. Like, I don't get it.
Going back to your Miles Morales example, when people want to start Miles Morales, I usually go into Sidekicks and start them with one of the...
I just sell them Miles Morales Ultimate Collection Volume 1.
Yeah, that works too.
That's the one they want, because that's his origin. That's him getting the costume. That's all of the stuff from the Spider-Verse movies that you like. That's it.
Hello, this is a brief interlude with not only myself, Patrick, but with
George,
my brother, and we are here to shamelessly shill for the Alzheimer's 5K that we are a part of coming up in September.
September 15th at North Central College in Naperville, Illinois.
We have literally just buried our parents, and we are making this plea now to remind you that we are raising money for Alzheimer's. And you can visit my page at rememberingfrances.com. That's Francis spelled Frances, rememberingfrances.com. And you can visit the team page at forfran.com. That's FOURFRAN.com. And George's own page.
Yeah, that's act.alz.org/go-to.
Yeah, just go to forfran. Just go to forfran.com
and you can
scroll down and you can pick George. George, why are we doing this?
We're doing this to raise money for care, for awareness, and to find a cure. Because of the top 6 diseases in the country, this is the only one that has no survivor so far. We are looking for that first survivor.
But it's conceivable in our lifetime.
It could be. Some significant advances were made in the last year, and 2 new drugs came out. There had been, to this point, nothing that could slow the progression, and these have shown some very good progress in that. So it could happen in our lifetime.
And as you know, this is important to us because our mother passed away 4 years ago from this terrible disease. So we've been doing all we can since then. George especially, who's co-chair for this now.
Well, we've done away with the chair people, so I am just on the walk committee.
Oh, I see.
This is since 2019.
What does that mean for your responsibility load? Same. Yeah. So anyway, you can help us out by donating at rememberingfrances.com or forfran.com, and we'd appreciate it.
Yes, very much so. Please, whatever you can give is acceptable. Thank you.
Early on in this podcast. It's a podcast for partners. It's a podcast.
I love it.
I talked about how publishers hate you. And
not just publishers, Patrick.
Sure. As evidenced by this upcoming week, Image has 20 individual titles coming out.
Why is that, Patrick?
And that includes, multiple covers of every single one.
Oh my God, yes.
Didn't I complain that having, and this is neither Image for either of the examples, but having Something is Killing the Children and Spectrograph on the invoice, on the breakdown next to each other, it represents 12 line items for 2 books.
And there's covers we don't carry.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
We got a distillery email today that's like, hey, here's 14 new covers. Pass.
Thanks.
But there was a problem at the distributor,
Lunar
specifically, that held back 6 Image comics that should have been on sale this week.
And all of their variant covers.
Yes. So those are coming out next week, giving us 20 different Image books. But it wasn't a problem for Diamond,
Yeah, basically,
who gets their Image product from Lunar.
So I think reading the email that Lunar had sent, I think what had happened is that Lunar had received all of the Image product for this sales week. But something, and so they split up what was supposed to go to Diamond and what was supposed to go to them, and then Diamond was going to do what they were going to do with it. But something in their system had flagged 6 of those titles as not being on this sales week. So they had them, and they were just sitting on them for 2 weeks, basically. And then they realized and went, oh no, we shipped everything out. These can't go out yet. So like Image, those Image titles not only went to Diamond, but Diamond shipped them out. So Diamond accounts got them this week.
Yeah.
And Diamond had to send out an email to their accounts saying, hey, please don't sell those yet. And as retailers in the industry, I can tell you that probably had about a 6% success rate.
And honestly, I don't blame any of those retailers because those were the official on sale dates. Right. And your distributor gave them to you.
We got an email from one of our subscribers saying, hey, it looks like I didn't get Rat City this week. Can you please set one of those aside for me? And I thought it was on my list. And we had to go, it
is on your list.
We didn't get it this
come
week
out.
because we get it from Lunar and Lunar didn't ship it out.
Like so many retailers blame Diamond for shipping mistakes. You know, we talked about that in the past a lot.
Sure.
But when we say to somebody, it was a delay, we didn't, like, the whole distributor didn't send it out, we're trying to say, it's not just us.
Yes.
We didn't do a thing wrong.
Right.
But it always sounds like we're protesting too much.
Maybe.
Like, I wouldn't read that much into it either way, I don't think.
Well,
but I wouldn't feel like, oh, this must be a line-wide.
Sure. It's always difficult to give a customer bad news, and it certainly is bad. Not your fault necessarily, but to say to them, like, this is a larger industry problem and there is literally nothing I can do about it. Like, I'm sorry. Yes, the book was supposed to come out this week. Yes, other stores got it because they got it from a different vendor. We didn't get it. So it's not like I can't sell it to you because I'm not allowed to. I literally don't have it to sell to you.
It made me think in that specific instance how that customer knew it was out because the person that they do their Spawn podcast with doesn't get their books from us, but the store they get them from also gets their books from Lunar.
Well, so the 2 things that I can think of are, one, that was a scheduled release date and they knew that.
Sure.
They maybe had a little spreadsheet. We know some customers keep a little sheet of what's supposed to come out when, months in advance. But the other thing is it's possible that McFarlane and Image had sent out a thing basically saying, like, Rat City releases this week, because to them it did. They didn't know that Lunar didn't send it out.
I just assumed in their Spawn social network, people from around the country had gotten it elsewhere.
No, I would maybe, and that's entirely possible, but yeah, I would hazard a guess that it could just as easily be that promotion was done telling fans to go get the book, not realizing that the book was not at any Lunar stores.
The amount of time that happens for books that get delayed or don't come out, or different distributors have it. Like we got Karate Prom 2 weeks after its official on sale date. Same thing with Detective Sweepy 2 weeks later.
Same thing with Deep Dark. Same thing with what was the new Vera Broggsell book?
Oh, the Mermaid and the Pirate King.
Plain Jane
and the Pirate and the Pirate. Plain Jane and the Mermaid.
Plain Jane and the Mermaid. Yeah.
So there's no pirates at all.
I mean, there might be. It's a long book.
It was about the Russian girl who goes camping.
Oh,
yeah.
But getting back to what you were saying before,
Plain Jane and the Mermaid, just so we're clear.
I can understand why you would think that it would sound untrue or shifting the blame.
I'm just reading into it.
I was going to say, I can see why you would think that, because we know how many retailers lie about something that's their fault being the distributor's fault. Oh yeah, I don't know why Diamond didn't send me that. You didn't order it. Yeah, Diamond smashed this up. You unpacked it badly. Like, whatever. Like, these things, like, I'm not saying those things don't happen. It's just that the amount of times you hear it, it's like, I know you're shifting the blame. I know you are loath to tell your customer that this is your fault. So you're just like, it's happening to me,
It's like last week in our PRH graphic novel shipment for the new books on sale this week, 4 entire titles we couldn't put out because their spines were crushed. Mm-hmm. But we talked about it last week.
Yeah.
I wonder if those will come in tomorrow.
I'm just realizing now that Molly Jane had done a reorder for a Critical Role Origins.
Oh man, it's probably the one from this week
that we didn't have because it was damaged, and we're getting more for the shelf anyway.
Yeah.
And now we're getting an extra one that's going to go. Okay, great.
There is a lack of communication between people that work different days. And most of us don't know where things are in the store, but only you do.
I'm hiding everything so that I can have a reason to still be employed.
Hey, Dal, did you hear the news?
What's that?
Something special is coming.
Also, the way you said that, have you heard the news? Hachette has a new customer portal. When you call Hachette to do their credit card or whatever, like you have
Which
to
I've never done in my life.
You have to listen to their hold thing, and their hold is always, "Have you heard the news?" It's a woman's voice saying that, and it's like it cracks me up. So thank you for accidentally doing it that way. Have you heard the news?
You know what I've always hated? When you call somewhere and they say, thank you for calling Simon & Schuster.
Uh-huh.
Please listen to the menu options as our menu options have changed. Everybody always says that. It's like, we have to listen to the menu options anyway.
Yeah.
None of us call that much that we have them memorized. Yeah.
6.
We're gonna just don't. And then how long do you keep that message saying our options have changed?
Forever.
Just don't do it.
I feel like whoever knew how to change it has been made redundant, and so no one knows how to fix it ever. So it's just it'll say that until the company goes out of business.
I do follow a couple of different Instagram accounts that are like HR professionals that are sent communications between bosses and employees, and just how poorly the bosses handle everything.
Oh my God. Yeah.
They're kind of like, they're sad because they're all real life things. It's like, hey, I know I approved your vacation, but you absolutely positively have to be in the office tomorrow morning, 8:00. I can't. I'm in Mexico with my family. I'm sorry. I've looked it up. There's a flight you can get back. You have to get back. Like, no, look, you don't take your job seriously enough.
I take it less seriously now.
Yeah. It's like, look, I know you booked your time off a while ago, but it turns out so did 5 other people, and you just can't have that time off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I already have my hotel reservations and my flights. No, you can't. You have to cancel, like stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And just the way, like the attitude of the boss is like, I'm the boss. You have to do what I say.
Yeah, I'm sorry that you had a life, but your life is really getting in the way of our productivity, so that's going to have to change.
One was so great, and I'm getting off topic. One was like, to the boss, like, hey, I just want you to know that everyone on my team has been working an extra 10 to 20 hours per week to get this project done, and it is killing them. We need to hire somebody else. I've gone ahead and made like a documentation about what this person needs, what this new hire needs.
And qualifications.
And all the onboarding and everything. I just need you to approve the hire. And the boss came back with, it's great you took this initiative. I can't approve the hire. The company has specific profit goals for the next quarter, and a new hire would cut into that. So you have to tell your people they just have to tough it out.
Of course they do. Company needs to make more money, don't you understand?
The only problem is because these are all reels, they cut off before the ending.
Oh.
And then you go to that account like, wait, but it's also cut off for me. We're like follow for part 2. Where's part 2? This is like from months ago. Anyway, hey, have you heard the news? Something special is coming. Something special is coming.
What?
I have no fucking idea.
Oh, it's the Marvel thing.
Marvel announced today, hey, pay attention to your
Marvel Comics has made it official.
Coming up. Something special is coming.
Uh-huh.
And just the way that all these stealth canceled books or ending books, so many of them are happening, and DC's huge decrease in output.
Yeah, it feels like the end of this year is going to see a lot of new... I mean, it always does one way or the other. It just feels like both Marvel and DC are reaching a point where it's like a lot of core characters you would expect to have books don't have books, or just had books wrap up, or had creative teams finish, and they kind of don't have anything in the pipeline. And I don't know if that's going to work for them on a monthly basis, as Tom Brevoort has pointed out a bunch of times in his Substack email, that basically is 40% of Pop Versus content now. He was so right to call them out. It's so egregious. Because everything is the like, oh God, I'm going to give you one of the headlines, because I don't know if you're still reading Brevoort Substack.
Oh, of course.
But there's...
So Popverse is the Read Pop sponsored comics journalism website.
Which on the one hand, like, I'm grateful that Read Pop is even paying for that.
Sure.
almost every place that I would have gone to for comics journalism, except for the Beat, is pretty much done for. The Beat still hanging in there. God bless them.
You're clearly overlooking Bleeding Cool.
I am not.
Oh, so you do go to them regularly. Got it. I just noticed how the whites of Spider-Man's eye on my back of my palm tattoo.
So here's one.
Really hard to tell that it's white.
Should Marvel restore Spider-Man and Mary Jane's marriage? The pros and cons, according to Marvel itself.
So that's the headline of the article.
Yeah. Oh, and it's literally just like Ultimate Spider-Man number 6. Okay, so that's not even it. Because I know he brought it up recently, and it was in a... I got to go past all of their London Comic-Con stuff.
Is that happening?
I guess
no,
it was.
Today's a Thursday.
I think it's like filmed stuff from there.
Okay. In talking to Tom Kelly, and I'm bringing this up to...
Oh, okay. Marvel's official timeline of the canon comic universe is ellipses. Maybe not as important as fans might think, says top editor.
They should. That's erroneous. They should say top hat editor because he always wears a hat.
Yeah, and yeah,
fedora, but still.
Then it's like a whole thing to get to Tom Brevoort basically saying like it's a shifting timeline because we're never going to do things in real time.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah,
because the Marvel Universe has been going on for 65 years.
Right. So before I got off on this tangent, what were we? So Tom Brevoort has said in his Substack a number of times that there is a minimum number of titles that Marvel needs to publish to pay for the overhead of running Marvel Publishing.
Yeah.
So,
which would be less if they didn't have to work from the offices still.
And it would probably be less if those books sold better. So yeah, they literally cannot afford to just be like, I don't know, we don't publish Black Panther comics anymore. Like or Guardians of the Galaxy or Iron Man or Captain Marvel or all of these things. And I'm realizing as I'm listening this out, it's like, oh, it's all MCU stuff.
Yeah.
The books that were made reliable, Guardians of the Galaxy less so. I mean, like Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain Marvel were pretty much hit books prior to their MCU
cinematic
stuff and heavily influenced the cinematic versions. But Black Panther was that was a book that was made super prominent because of, I think, the upcoming movie. I think it had been released between Civil War and Black Panther. So that had a lot of heat on it. People were like, and obviously Ta-Nehisi Coates being the writer on it, brought almost everybody to it. So yeah, with all the X-Men stuff getting relaunched in the July to September window, I guess October technically as well, I would assume that October to December probably will see a lot of, hopefully, fingers crossed, big new launches from Marvel and DC. I don't even know what that would look like anymore. I don't know. The bigger problem that those companies have at this point is like, what creative teams do you launch those books with? Marvel's cheap as hell, so they're not going to get anybody good.
You know,
I saw some pages from MYX and I was like, oh man, this is what this book looks like. I'm excited about that book.
Yeah.
Art might look great.
I look at comics on the shelves today, and there's very many. But it wasn't that long ago that I could look at a comic and tell you who the artist was, what they did before.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know 50% of the artists who are working.
Again, NYX I think is a brand new artist. I would have said anything.
And that's kind of the point.
Yep.
There's at least like when an up and coming artist was,
and that's a huge launch. That's a month one launch for the X-Men from the Ashes stuff. Month one.
It makes me feel so disconnected. And I can't tell. And yesterday, when you were unpacking next week's Lunar Shipment, I saw a variant cover. I'm like, oh, that's Becky Cloonan. And it wasn't.
No.
And that same artist burned me again today while looking at the upcoming Lunar catalog. Mm-hmm. Another variant cover. I'm like, oh, that looks like Becky. Oh, it's not Becky Cloonan. It's the same person as yesterday.
Yeah. For those who want to check it out, it's the Spectrograph 1 in 25 variant. Patrick thought it was a Becky Cloonan piece, but it was not.
And there was whatever the other book was. It might have been a variant cover for
maybe another Distiller book.
Yeah, through the red
through Red Windows.
Through Red Windows,
which is
the Rom V and Joel Jones.
I'm always going to stumble over when I say I'm going to have to slow down. Through Red Windows.
It may have been that. It may not have been. But when I looked at it closer, I'm like, actually, it looks a lot like a cross between the design work of Becky Cloonan and the line work of Jenny Frison.
You know who it also reminded me a little bit of? Luana Vecchio.
Okay.
A little bit.
Just less detailed?
honestly probably more detailed than Vecchio. A lot.
I consider her highly detailed.
A lot thinner lines. And it's not to say that I looked at it and then thought it was her work. It was just like I can see that existing kind of in the same field.
All right, we're going to round this out with a quick couple of book hits. Today I read Something Crawled Out, #1 from Vault.
Okay.
I cannot tell you anyone who's involved with it.
I saw the names of the creators stated in an email they sent, and I did not recognize them at all.
But I read it, and I actually enjoyed it. It's a small town.
Put that on the back of your book.
Drama mystery, maybe a cult. It's about like a younger woman and her best friend as they grow up, and she has a little sister. Her best friend could always encourage her to do dumb things when they were kids, and they're still best friends now, but they're both going nowhere, doing nothing. She works the night shift at a gas station.
Okay.
He's like a squatter.
Great.
And her little sister goes missing in a town where a bunch of other young girls have gone missing. And also her best friend may literally be the devil.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So it's quick, but it's enough to make me be like, all right, I'm interested. Okay. I want to see where it goes. And then going through the DC solicits today, there's a couple of books that you and I are excited for. There is a Lobo one-shot by the Kyles.
Yes.
Written by Kyle Starks, who's perfect for Lobo.
Yep.
And drawn by Kyle Hotz.
Called the Lobo Cancellation Special.
It's a one-off. And then there is Plastic Man No More, a new Plastic Man miniseries written by Christopher Cantwell. That's like a deconstruction of Plastic Man.
Yeah, one of the things that's interesting about it is it's delving a little bit further back into the pre-Plastic Man, Eel O'Brien stuff of like, he was a criminal. Like, that's probably something we should talk about.
Yeah, it looks real good. It's Dexter Linz, is that the name of the artist?
Alex Linz.
Alex Linz, same artist on Briar currently. Very excited to see Christopher Cantwell take on.
And I checked the same artist on Hellcat.
Yeah. Very excited to see Christopher Cantwell take on Plastic Man in a miniseries. Yeah. And then there is the too long of a title, Batman, The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween.
Yeah. Which was originally intended to be a series by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale that would be the final Long Halloween story. They did a one-shot to sort of set it up, and then Tim Sale passed away. So Jeff Loeb decided to sort of use the series to honor the memory of Tim Sale as an artist by getting, a murderer's row of amazing artists.
Yeah, every issue is a different artist.
Eduardo Risso's the first one. I think Mark Chiarello is doing something later in the run. It sounds like it's going to be really fun to read, just to see how those artists work with essentially a Tim Sale aesthetic. One of the things that's especially good is that Jeff Loeb, for all of his flaws as a writer, knows how to write for artists. So I think he's going to turn out something pretty interesting with all these different folks.
There's a book coming out from Image in September that I don't know how to market or explain to people because it's not a book, it's a concept.
Oh, yeah.
It's overseen by Pornsak Pichtoto, former Vertigo editor.
The difficulty of explaining this is why I did not try to promote it in our catalog email it's going to be going out. Because I just thought, okay, but it is a series of one-shots. And the idea is it's all on underrepresented folks. So, like, it's the first comic is like an Asian American spy thriller, I think. Something like that.
The Manchurian.
And it's written by Pornsak and it's drawn by the Dodsons, Terry and Rachel. But the thing that made me go, I'm not going to promote this the same way is each subsequent thing, while they're all overseen by Pornsak, not written by him.
No.
So all the future ones are like, oh, this is a guy who's a showrunner on this streaming series. This is someone who's done scripts for this movie that hasn't come out yet. It's just like, oh, it's all media guys doing their properties. And it's like, nothing makes... Look, I'm going to go ahead and give this the caveat of plenty of people who work in the entertainment industry outside of comics are huge comics fans. They may have been comics fans their entire lives. Some of them would like nothing more than to have a career doing comics. Chris Cantwell, who we just talked about, is doing a book that we're very excited about, is a guy that started off doing TV stuff. I really liked his *Halt and Catch Fire* show.
And he paid his comic dues. He did a lot of
Yes.
She Could Fly, 3 volumes of that.
However, one of the things that I think is one of the less enjoyable aspects of the comics industry over the last 10 to 15 years is the number of people who come in from outside comics, usually movie and TV, who have a concept and everything in it just feels like this is a movie script. You have a movie script or a movie concept, and you're doing it in a comic book because you want to get it adapted, and it's way easier to say this was a hit comic than this is my spec script. So nothing about it feels like it needs to be a comic. It doesn't feel like it takes advantage of the medium. It doesn't feel like you're collaborating with an artist so much as you just got somebody to draw your concept. And I don't know that these are those. Okay, they probably, hopefully, are not, because Porntek's a great writer. He was a good editor. But when I hear a thing and the credits are all, oh, it's all movie and TV guys who haven't done comics before, I'm just like, I don't care. I don't think it's going to be good. I don't want to promote it. I want to promote stuff that can only be comic books, not stuff that is inevitable pitch documents for production companies. I don't want that. So tired of that.
Understood. And as a series of one-shots, people can't subscribe to all of them. You have to special order each one.
Yeah, I don't know how Managed Comics is going to do that, if they're going to do it as a series or just individual pre-orders. But yeah, because each one is a different creative team and a different concept and I think a different genre. I'm like,
yeah,
y'all can figure it out, I guess. It'll be in the catalog.
Yeah.
I don't need to call it out. Look, we're going to read the previews. If they're great, we're going to order a ton and we're going to sell it.
Absolutely.
I'm into that. I love doing that. But yeah, reading over the creators involved, I'm like, it's all movie and TV guys. A lot of showrunners.
Do you like my new Crocs?
I do very much.
So they just solicited, you can buy a new set of Captain America Crocs.
Okay. Patrick is wearing Spider-Man Crocs.
I was going to build up to that.
Oh, is that? Okay.
Anyway, they have a new Sam Wilson Captain America Crocs with wings.
Where, like on the back, like
but on the hinge.
Oh, on the front.
On the side, where the
where the little Spider-Man.
Yeah. So this is a heel strap that I never wear.
Oh, okay.
That's
I've
what's
never
across
owned
the
Crocs,
top.
so I don't know how they're supposed to look.
Yeah, they're supposed to be more sandal-like.
Oh, I see.
But I never wear them. So this rotates.
Okay. Oh, that goes along the, okay.
And it's supposed to keep your heel in. Also, this one is weird in Velcro, and they're not usually like that. I don't like it.
Oh.
But the Captain America Crocs,
Uh-huh.
They're a white base, and I hate white Crocs because they get dirty so quickly.
Sure.
My Kiss knockoff Crocs are white. I mean, they're fully printed, but they're white bottoms.
I see.
And also, they were $90.
Ooh.
So I'm like, I'm not doing it.
That seems like a lot for Crocs. I don't know. What do they usually cost? Not $90.
Oh, I mean, if they're just a solid color,
yeah,
like $30.
Yeah, $90. Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of extra stuff that's involved.
But that just feels like the opposite of why you get Crocs.
I did not get them. But while I was there, it's like, hey, you're looking at Marvel stuff. Look at these. Here's these Spider-Man ones that are a navy blue base, so nice and dark.
Sure.
And B, on clearance.
Woo!
And not only that, I ordered these on last Friday, and they showed up on Tuesday.
Wow.
Yeah. They came with a bunch of little, whatever they call their things that you put little charms into the holes.
Wouldn't that hurt your foot?
No, because they're thin, flat bottoms that like they just like snap in.
Sure.
So there's not like a pin back.
Mm-hmm.
It's a flat thing. Your feet don't get up to it.
Sure.
But I hate those.
Yeah.
And they're even like, hey, did you want to buy us a Spider-Man set of those charms for $25? No. Not realizing that the shoes actually came with them.
Oh. Well, good thing you did.
So I immediately tore them off. Anyway, I think they're neat. And they've replaced my Kiss ones as my go-tos.
I see.
Which also, anyone listening will never, ever see them because these are not, I do not wear these out of the house. These are or like for the homestead or the pair that I keep here in the podcastatorium for maximum comfort.
Or if you're at Mike's house for Wrestling Kingdom.
No, those are a knockoff Captain America ones that stay in the car.
Okay.
Yeah, or mainly Ryan's house for football.
That's true.
Yeah. But yeah, I did my knockoff Captain America ones that were just, printed.
Mm-hmm.
Those live in the car.
I see.
What a fascinating insight into the world of
Good digression.
comic book footwear. Thanks for listening.
You keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.